Hi, and welcome to this new tutorial, and today I want to talk about parallel tracks. The concept is very simple. We have a lot of effects into the SP, but we don't have access to so much parameters in depth on every effect. And above all, the level knob on many effects, or the mix knob, it's a wet and dry control. So we don't have access to the separate volume for the original track and the affected track. This technique comes in handy with that, and here I have a simple pattern with this 303, which is a little bit dull. And of course, I can use as many effects as I want by applying the effects and resampling, but it's not quite what I want to do. What I want to do is to have access to the affected track separately from the original track. And we can apply an effect and then resample, apply other effects on top of that without touching the original track. This is the concept. So I want to work on this loop here, and let's copy. All right, now we can work only on this part here. So let's say we want to send this track here to a distortion bus. We have to apply the balance 100% wet, because this is the affected track, so we want to have the maximum effect. Let's try it with this. Okay, let's resample this pad here. Cool. Now we can use these two guy here, and in order to have a direct access to both, we can pad link. And now the trick is to blend at your taste the two tracks, and then we can resample. And we have obtained a new version with the second track added on top of the original one, so we don't have lose the cleaner version of the sample, and we have blended the new one. So let's unlink these two pads, and let's say we want to sculpt a little bit more the affected track, the first affected track. We have unlinked the two pads, so we can work a little bit on that. And I want, for instance, apply some equalization. Let's check the okay. And be always aware of the equalization when you are layering the same sample or an affected version of the same sample one on top of each other, because you are adding, of course, a lot of frequency content, and you are in many cases doubling the frequencies. So you have to be a little bit smart with the equalization on the affected track. That's better. So resample. Nice. Let's delete the old one. And now we can continue. We can maybe add something more, I don't know, a chorus. This one here, let's resample. Perfect. Delete. And let's change the envelope. Okay. Now we have added not only distortion, equalization, but also stereo placement. Now we can blend the two. And let's link these two pads. And cool, let's resample. Delete these two. This is the new version, and this is the original version. There's a pretty big difference, right? Let's exchange. And exchange again. Big difference, right? And let's say sound design effects wise, I'm okay with it. I want to add a little bit more of bouncing and a little bit more of dynamics on this pad here. And by following the same concept, I can copy the pad. And now I want to add compression. Then let's also add a little bit of gain. This is like faking the parallel compression technique in a DAW. Nice. Resample. And let's check if, yeah, when you are using a compressor, there's always a little bit of latency at the beginning of the resample version. Now we can blend the two track, pad link, and now this is the original version. And I want to add a little bit of bouncing more to this pad here. So let's unlink for a minute this pad. And I want to add a slicer. You can use this slicer kind of a sidechain fake effect. Yeah, let's resample. Delete that one. And now we can finally link these two together. Yeah, let's resample. There's a little bit more of rounded on the extreme of the frequency spectrum, and it's a little bit more bouncing, so let's exchange. Yeah. And you can work with this process with every effects. You can, for instance, let's make a copy. Okay. Let's delete this copy here. You can go with the reverb. Let's look at, yeah, okay, pre-delay. Now let's use the EQ on this reverbed version, so we can cut a lot of unnecessary frequencies. Yeah, it's a little bit more rounded. Remember, when you are working with reverbs and delay, the concept of filtering the wet signal, it's crucial. It's a lot more contained, and you can filter it with a filter or with an equalizer, in this case. Nice. And let's pad link these two. And we have added a layer of reverb underneath the original sample, and we have direct access to the affected part. This is the crucial thing. Let's resample. And exchange. Copy. And the previous samples was this one, so let's exchange again and listen. It's a lot more contained and without space, obviously. So this is it for this little tutorial for today, and I hope this idea will opens up your creativity. And again, you can use every effect you want on every sample you want. This is a technique, so it's up to you to find where and when it's useful in your workflow. If you need samples and mixing and mastering services, check my Gumroad page. And thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye!